Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you happen to be watching this, and welcome along to the Suffolk Non-League Show Christmas special. I am James, he is Adam. It's weird, we're not doing this live. There is no audience to kind of react to at this point. How are you feeling about that, first of all, Adam?
Bit odd. It's the first time we've done this as a pre-record for maybe not quite 2 years, but getting that way.
Yeah,
so
it's coming up to that point. Do you remember those days?
I do. Sat in your room together, like just sort of working through stuff. It was a very different time back then.
Yeah, 100%.
And a bit of a different direction in terms of what we were doing as well. So things have changed considerably. And do you know what? Sometimes things change for the worse, but this has definitely changed for the better.
Yeah, definitely. I would say we've really made the most of this year. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think we've kind of adapted well to what technology is available to us and found a product that fits what we can do. I think I'd go as far as saying if we could sit next to each other in each other's houses, if that was all okay, I'd probably say let's still do it like this anyway.
100%. 100%. It just works better this way.
Exactly. Even though we could make it work the other way, this is actually just genuinely more convenient and it just suits us better. So yeah, I'm happy with it.
Definitely. But for those of you who are wondering what this is, what it is that we plan on doing and talking about this, the reason why myself and Adam decided to sit down and talk today and put this video live on the point of Christmas Day is that Christmas this year is going to be different for everybody. We're not going to be able to do the standard things that we normally would do around Christmas, and you're not going to be able to see as many people as you potentially want to. So it's going to be strange. It's going to be weird. Things are going to be different this year. So what we wanted to do is come together and provide something for you as a way of a thank you for everything that you guys have done for us this year, because it's been an absolutely monumental year. We just want to be a part of your Christmas Day, whether or not you've got family sitting around you and you want to watch this of an evening, whether or not you want to watch this first thing in the morning before people do come over, whatever the case may be. There's going to be a lot of people alone this year. And I think that for me was important, is to provide somebody who is not going to be able to see friends, is not going to be able to see family, to be that source of companionship and friendship. And just hearing myself and Adam just rabbiting on for an hour about how football's gone this year, how the channel's gone this year. And yeah, I thought it might be a nice change to do something like this rather than our standard show where we have the audience reacting. This can just be an opportunity for me and Adam to, say whatever we want basically, and just have a bit of fun with it. So it just meant a lot to me to get to do something like this. And I know you agree, don't you, as well?
Yeah, 100%. It's nice not to record something on a Monday because typically no news has happened today. But we're recording this on a Friday. It's been a very peaceful day in non-league, so we can actually just talk about what we want to talk about.
Just on that point, I guarantee if we tweeted out in the morning saying that we were recording this, someone would have dropped some news.
Well, yeah, that's true. We did keep it under our hats, didn't we? So maybe that's the things. We can't do that with the Monday show anymore. So
no, the Monday show has taken over, so we can't do that because people expect us to be here on a Monday. And just on a very quick point on that one, we were looking at the dates on this, and obviously with Christmas Day and the Christmas time and the way that it has fallen, there is going to be a date on the 28th, which is the Monday. And there was a question mark that we kind of talked about whether or not we were going to do it, but just to let everybody know, we are still going to be doing the Monday live show on the 28th. We're not going to be taking any sort of break during the Christmas period. We are going to be there on the 28th. I have a game that I'm going to. Whether or not, I don't know whether or not Adam's going to be joining me or not. We need to kind of iron out the details on that one. But I will be going to a game on the 28th, recording and going live with you guys in the evening. And then once that's done, I'm then going to jump back onto the edit so that the match day experience is back out for you guys on the 29th as normal. So that's the kind of plan of it.
I'm going to be sort of sat here on newsroom duties, updating the slides with all of the graphics.
So that
everything is in place ready for the evening. It's going to be a tight turnaround, I think, that day.
Yeah,
That
definitely.
will actually, honestly, in all of the time we've done this, the 28th of December will go down as our most challenging day to be able to put together a live show.
Gotcha.
What things to reflect on and challenges that we face. The 28th of December is set to be the most demanding and challenging day for us to be able to get something out. And I'm fully expecting it not to be smooth running, but that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. So I suppose let's kick things off by having a general review of the year. It's been incredibly challenging for everyone. We all know the reasoning behind it. Adam's sitting here on the 18th of December recording this one tonight. How are you feeling about 2020? How has it gone for you personally? And how has it gone for you in terms of what we've done on the channel? Because let's remember, at the beginning of the year, this was not a thing. We weren't doing what we're doing now. You would occasionally dip in from time to time on a match day experience, but things have changed, haven't they? So how do you reflect on 2020? Let's start with that.
I kind of was really dabbling with YouTube at the beginning of this year anyway, with what I was doing for Stowe and kind of getting more of a taste for it. And coming sort of through the year, through the different things that have happened, I think I've just really grown with it, to be honest. And I kind of look at this as the year where sort of I've been able to network with the football community. That's the thing I've sort of really appreciated out of what I've done. It's meant that I've spoken to so many more people. I've started taking in different levels of football, which at some point I was quite close to doing, particularly when I was watching Furlough None every single week.
Yeah.
And I was going to different places in the Furlough None, but I found it difficult to make time for the SIL at the start of the year. But I've really had that introduction to it. And to be honest, with all of the rules that are in place and everything now, I actually almost prefer going to SIL games because you've got more of your own breathing space and you're left to your own devices more. But I mean that in the most positive way. You're kind of treated as a grown-up rather than having to be babied through things because they're dealing with large numbers. I'll be honest, it's quite controversial to say it. I felt when we went to Bramford the other night when they played Claxton, I felt perfectly safe where we were. No problems. But the other side of the pitch was a different story in terms of the population of people. And I don't know if I would have felt as comfortable stood the other side of the pitch because it's quite simply put, more people go. There's more demands. I look back to the Sporting 87 game that we went to against Bedrixworth. That was really my first taste of SIL football for some time. And I'm really pleased I went to that game. I've looked back, I've said, like, it was a difficult game to watch at points, but then had some really good highlights in it. There were points that were really good. But then I look back on it, I think we were the only people standing on the entire sideline of the pitch. And it just felt safe, and I could take the game in and relax into it without worrying. I don't enjoy wearing a muzzle as much as the next race dog. So, like, if I can do it in a more controlled environment without worrying about what everyone else is doing around me as well. Those rules have been something that for me I found really, really difficult. I know that we have to follow them, but it makes it difficult to enjoy the game, I think, is what I'm getting at. But I found ways, a means of getting around it. Sort of on a personal note, I probably didn't start the year in the best place, like mentally or physically, with a few things with my health, but I've kind of got through that now. And
how do you think you got through it?
Well, I'm not completely out the other side of it. Like, I've got somebody still helping me in terms of like therapy stuff that I speak to on the phone every couple of weeks. But even that's been messed up by COVID. So that was meant to be done face to face. And after 12 months of waiting, and I got through the list, COVID hit, and all of the face to face stuff I was meant to have went over to be done on FaceTime. So again, it was still about using technology to get the right treatment and everything else. So it's been an interesting year. But I'm literally on my last couple of sessions for that now, and things are much better. But I've said it before, like, I've seen mixed tweets, people sort of saying, football isn't the answer for mental health, and football is the answer for some people's mental health. And for me, It very much is. It's an outlet.
Yeah,
Going
100%.
out and seeing
100%.
people. And it just allows me to socialize now at a distance with different people. And I enjoy football. No good at playing it, but I enjoy watching it. And
I
I look
can
at it.
confirm that.
Oh, cheers, mate. Like I look at football analytically, and I
Yeah,
enjoy doing that, whatever the level.
yeah,
And with whatever level of detail, I'd rather sit there and on the sidelines and break down what a team is trying to do, what they're aiming to do,
yeah,
than I
yeah,
would. You know, and I feel like I can get more out of doing it at this level of football, also,
yeah,
than I could if I went to watch Ipswich play.
yeah.
It's,
I'd agree with that.
Ipswich, it's all done for you. You only need to go and have a look on the BBC stats, and you can roughly work out what's going on in the game.
Do
Like
you feel that as well, because that is your team, the element of your heart overruling your head with a lot of things? Because I know for me, watching Norwich, I wouldn't be able to analyze them in the same way as what I do with a game now, because
yeah,
my heart is so much into, well, I really want such and such to do well. So am I actually looking at this objectively?
yeah.
I think
But
maybe
that's
that played
why
a part.
I've always said, for a similar reason, that if you want to enjoy football, never gamble on it.
Yeah. Yeah,
For,
I'd agree
for
with
very
that.
similar reasons, because
Yeah, yeah.
as soon as you've got a quid on a game, you don't care what happens in it any longer.
Mm-hmm.
All your tunnel vision on an outcome,
True.
and
True.
all the while it's your heart overruling your head.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
I want this to happen for this set reason.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but you don't get that in non-league, and you can enjoy it in its purest form.
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, looking back on 2020, because it feels like it's one of those years that it feels like it's dragged, but it's gone by in an instant as well,
Yeah,
if that makes sense. So for me, I kind of went into the beginning of this year being a new dad, and all the wildness that surrounded that. I was still getting used to going back to work, leaving my son at home, which I really struggled with. I really, really did not cope well with. I felt an instant connection that I've never felt in my life, and being out and leaving them every single day. I can't say the amount of days that I drove to work in tears, because I really, really struggle with it. And I really struggle going back to watch games of football as well. The urge to go along and record, chat to people, I'll be honest, it wasn't there at the beginning of the year, because I was so focused on what was going on at home. I didn't want to miss a second of anything that was happening. And then I started to get into doing this. I mean, some people will remember this, the SIL review show, where I'd have a little bit of a look at the results of a weekend, and that kind of piqued my interest a little bit. And that probably is the starting point of the show that we have now, is
yeah,
that there was an interest in there. I'm just looking at the figures now. We had over an average of 350 people watching every show. So the interest was already there. It's just we've expanded it now to another level. And then I was still at a point with the channel where I didn't really know where it was going. Did I want football manager content on the channel? Again, for example, do I want F1 content on the channel? Because F1 and NFL are something that's really important to me. So do I want those on the channel?
yeah,
And then everything happened. And all of a sudden, I'd got myself mentally ready to start going back to football. And then all of a sudden, it was then completely taken away from me.
yeah,
And I know a lot of people have come on the show and have talked and been very open in the fact that they have struggled with the fact that their one outlet is no longer there, and they can't do the thing that they enjoy the most, which was Saturday morning, getting ready for football, going to the game, socializing, being with your boys, being with everyone that's around you, being part of that dressing room or in the crowd or whatever the case may be. A lot of people struggled with it. And for me, it was about filling that void. And we started doing the podcasts, the non-league nosh, which was brilliant. It did not pull in the numbers. Let's be honest. It did not pull in the numbers. And I think that was partly because we were struggling to, I wouldn't say, struggling is maybe a bit of a strong word, but we were still trying to find out what it is that we wanted to achieve from the channel.
Yeah.
So we were getting on guests of all varieties. We were using that opportunity to reach out to people and think, right, what do the audience want from us? And what do we want to be able to put across to somebody? So it was literally just, oh, that person's available. Let's get this person. Let's get this person. Let's get this person. Oh, that would be a good name. That's a big name. Our audience didn't react to that.
No, and I think it's difficult because I'd still to this day recommend to people go back and listen to them because there was some real quality content in there. And in terms of my ability to broadcast, I'd say that's when I kind of learned how to do it and learned how to question people on the fly and learned how to be a little bit stupid with it at the same time, not have to be quite as straight down the line and quite as PC with everything because it was pointless when you could have a laugh with those people that had been in the game. All of a sudden your avenues open up, but it's exposing that content to the right audience, and the channel wasn't built for that. It never was. And I think the best bit of advice I heard all year really that links back to what we do and pulls everything full circle is understand your niche and only invest in that. Because
the channel has been guilty of that. It's been trying to, well, I'm interested in that, so I'll do this. I'm interested in that, so let me bring that into it. Oh, that might be quite interesting, so let me bring this in. You need to work to what your audience wants. If you're a Norwich City channel, you concentrate on Norwich City. You don't then suddenly start talking about lower leagues, for example. Exactly the same if you're Ipswich. You don't start talking about other divisions when, you were an Ipswich Town channel, or if you're a Football Manager channel. It's very difficult to kind of break out of your mold, but once you've got yourself in it, find your market within that. And I think we've done that incredibly well. As the years gone on, we've really taken that on board. But we had to learn the hard way because we had some big guests. We had some really big guests at the beginning of the season. The first one, Luke Chadwick, the first big name.
Yep.
And I feel quite proud of that because we were one of the first people to interview him.
We literally were the first before it all kicked off. Yeah.
You type Luke Chadwick in now, and unfortunately our one's right down the bottom of the list, but I can guarantee you it was the first. We were the first ones to sit down and openly chat to him and ask him the hard questions. And I don't know if you remember this, but there was a journalist who's, I think it's Dan Taylor, who works for The Athletic, reached out to us and said, guys, I've just found your podcast. This is absolutely incredible. Do you mind if I use snippets of it in my article? And I was like, wow. Wow, we've got something here. We really have got something here. Let's get the next big guest on. Let's get the next big guest on. But it just, I don't know what it. Well, I know what it was. Our audience want what they want, which is
we got some ridiculous guests for that run, and James Bloomfield helped us out as well. I mean, he got Liverpool's throwing coach. I was speaking to him, but it absolutely flopped.
Yeah,
it didn't go anywhere. But he was speaking to the bloke helped them win their Champions League medal.
Yeah,
and it was an incredible interview. John Yems, again. But the one that did the best, Simon Johnson, an early mid-90s Leeds player. And again, it was all about these people have got a following that they can pull in, and it's understanding that. And I think as time has gone on, I've understood why on this channel, an interview with John Warnock will get more views than an interview with Luke Chadwick.
Yeah.
And that sounds ridiculous, and some people will listen to that and think I'm joking. It's a fact.
No, Yeah, it's not.
It's an actual fact.
Let me see if I can get you the numbers, right?
Unfortunately, the podcast numbers are deleted, but the podcast on Podbean for John Warnock got silly numbers.
Yeah, let me see if I can try and find this. Luke Chadwick got 150 views. John Warnock got 280.
Practically outdone Luke Chadwick 2-1, and
Yeah.
I think he's got a Premier League winners medal.
Yeah, Jamie Curtin 121, Paul Hayes 130, Alex Bradley 83, Joe Jacobson 230. You know, you're not talking. You know, Dean Bowditch 122, Callum McFadden 118.
Being a defender that led Wickham, literally led Wickham to their promotion.
Yeah. But you know, John Warnock beats them all. That's our audience. That's our audience. They know what they want.
I felt at the time, like, and this is no disrespect to John, but I felt quite down about that. I was like, okay, I get that we've got a following for John, but I don't understand why we're not doing enough to get people from up and down the country to want to listen to these people.
Yeah.
Savon Hines was another one. He barely got anyone listen to him. But
that's a good point.
He was a very promising youngster, and the show kind of fizzled out when I had a phone call with Cherno Samba. One of my sort of childhood heroes, like, for his exploits on Championship Manager. And I spoke to him on the phone a few times, and I just realized that I looked at his other interviews, and other channels had only got about 500 views on them. And I thought, well, if we can't even get a couple of hundred views on big names, I can't imagine this is going to do any different. And what am I going to ask him that's different? And we kind of just pulled the plug on it after that. We cancelled a couple of interviews that, in hindsight, I don't think we ever should have done. Like, one of the more stupid ones that we cancelled was the interview with Stephen Cleeve, the King's Lynn chairman.
Yeah. And God, I forgot about that.
That's something that I really regret us doing.
Yeah.
I don't regret any of those other podcasts at all, because I think I learned so much as I went along, and I wasn't able to be part of all of them because, like, in terms of like looking after my little one and stuff, things weren't as like easy at the time for me to do that. But the one thing I do regret is not making contact with Stephen again at the time to say, let's make this happen, because he was keen, and in hindsight, he is our audience. What that club do is part of our audience now, and I think we would have seen good numbers that would have inspired us to do something, because we left things for a long time. After that ended.
And then I slowly started making the transition back to our audience. So before the season kind of got going again, you'll see it if you go back onto the timeline of the channel. Dean Cooper, interviewing him when he got the Achilles job, 600 views instantly. You see a big jump in our audience coming back. Matthew Carley at Grunsborough, 290. Alex Muckle, 240. Ben Smith at Kesgrove, 280 odd. Jerome, 250. Dan Barnard, 288. The SIL News, 840 odd. You're then starting to see these numbers and increasing. And that's, I suppose, that's when we then realized, right, that, you know, we've got to go down this route, because this is what our audience wants. This is what they're going to get. The podcast from our perspective, in terms of our development, was what we needed. So we crafted what we wanted to do, the type of questions that we want to ask, because we have had no training in journalism. We have had no qualifications at all. But we are sick and tired of hearing the standard media questions directed towards somebody. We want to ask personal questions that get to the heart of what people are talking about and what they're thinking about. We don't want the wishy-washy answers. We don't want the same routine stuff. We're not interested in that. We want the answers that we know people are going to want to hear. So getting those experiences under our belt, then we decided that we've already tried the podcast a couple of years ago, where we reviewed all of the leagues, and it went down quite well. For a pre-recorded show, it went down quite well.
That was a grind, though, wasn't it, to do that show?
God,
let's not get away with it. Pre-recording it and editing it.
The edit was a killer. Was
And I was
really
sat around your house discussing it long after we pressed the stop button. Like,
yeah.
People didn't see the other side of it. And, I'm sat here saying that was hard work. My God, do we put a lot more work into what we do now than what we did then?
Oh, bloody hell, yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Not even a contest.
Yeah, different levels, but doing it that way, it wasn't quite right. But
No.
you learn as you go along, and I think you touched on a point there about getting the training and getting the experience under our belts by doing things live on the job. Never have I ever learned so much about how to interview and talk to someone than I did in the interview we did with Darren Eady in the summer.
Yeah. Oof, what's an interview? That was a brilliant chat. Brilliant chat.
I learned more about being brave and having no concerns about the questions I asked in that sort of 3 hours that we spent with him.
Yeah.
And we took the decision not to chop any of it. So anyone that finds it isn't, I know damn well they're not just going to sit there and listen through to it unless they're very, very interested. But
yeah,
for me, it achieved a lot.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. And then that really kind of launched the live show. We wanted to have something which we could interact with our audience there and then. We wanted something where we had the flexibility to upload there and then, and that we could have an open chat about things. And we had an idea about how we wanted the show to go. And I think if we're honest, I think our aim was I think if we got to 50, I think that we would have been quite happy with that. That would have been.
We said 50, didn't we, in the numbers?
Yeah, that would have been a great achievement. But it's gone mental.
Yeah.
It's gone absolutely mental. And it's gone to levels where, I mean, just look above us. Do you know what I mean? Those guys that are on board, that's the levels that this has gone to. It's exploded. It's gone mad.
And the 50 was just to cater for a revolving audience of people that might want to drop in each week and listen to something about their team. It doesn't sound right when you say 50, when you're saying, oh, well, what about when you interview someone else and they're getting 280 views? Well, what you've got to think is those 280 views, that's 5 months ago.
Yeah.
That's 280 views over 5 months.
Yeah.
Whereas we're hitting those numbers by the end of the 2 hours that we've finished.
Easy hitting those numbers.
So yeah, it's grown fast. It's ran away from us at times, and we've had to rein it in at times.
Yeah.
But we've managed to keep control in a way that's meant continuous growth. Like,
yeah,
you may look at the names above us. That's one thing. Look at the way the show looks compared to when we started.
Yeah.
Like my Microsoft Paint skills compared to what we've had put together for us now.
Yeah,
it's unreal. We've got a really fun, bright, professional image.
Yeah,
it's recognizable. When we're no longer just Adam and James, it's the non-league show brand.
Yeah,
and that's going to be. I can't say too much at the moment because it's still being finalized, but that's going to be strengthened in the new year.
Yeah,
there is more to come on that, and it's going to get better and better.
I think what a lot of people feel fall foul to rather is standing still and being happy and content with what they've got. Because somebody reached out to me maybe a week ago and said, you guys must be absolutely buzzing about what you're doing. This is, it's absolutely brilliant. I said, yeah, we are, but we're not done. Not by a long stretch. We've still got loads to do.
I was going to say, this has probably been the busiest week of upgrade chat and things moving forward. If I look how much has moved between Monday and today in terms of what's happening, we're talking major changes.
Yeah.
Because
people look at the 2 hours that we're live. And I mean, don't get me wrong, the 2 hours it is a lot. It is very time consuming. It is a lot of energy to do a show for 2 hours. I don't know if any of you guys have ever tried it, talking non-stop for 2 hours and keeping the conversation flowing and keeping the conversation going. and interacting with hundreds of people. I don't know if you've ever tried it. It's bloody hard. It's bloody hard.
I couldn't do it if I wasn't so interested in local football and so interested in promoting communities full of volunteers.
Can I just
Like,
say there's nothing worse than watching somebody who is not interested in a show or not interested in a topic at all. It really, really drives me up the wall when you see people who don't give a toss about what it is that they're talking about and are just there because they think it's going to make something for them. Anyway, carry on, because I just want to get that point off my chest.
I think like for me, it's just like because you care about it, because you know people are doing a lot of stuff off their own backs. No one else is really giving them the recognition other than the pat on the back they might get in the boardroom or whatever. So I don't want to sound like an everyday hero, but I feel like you're giving a platform to have a shout out and recognize things, but also try and make more people go and see what those are doing.
Yeah.
It's the promotion to say, go and experience it. It's hard, like, because you cover the SIL, and I know we've upset some people by not going down doing the reserve leagues. I know we have.
Yeah.
But there's a limit to how much we can cover, because we will never, ever get to a game down there. I can promise you that. I can say outright now, we will never get to a game in those leagues.
True.
So we're wasting our time going through them.
Yeah. And sadly, again, it's something where I don't know the first thing about it. So why would I talk about it? And it's not because I don't want to learn. It's because of the fact that, as I said, it is a 2-hour show. If we add in another 4 divisions, it's going to be 3 hours. You know, we simply don't have the time to be able to do it. And the reason we start at 8:30 is because we both have families and we both have kids that need sorting out and are priority. They come first. And until they are settled, until they are sorted, we can't go live. And the amount of messages that we had at the beginning, oh, why is it 8:30? It's like, well, we've told you. We've told you the reason why it's at 8:30. There is a genuine reason. And as I said, we go for 2 hours. There are other shows that do something similar to this that they struggle to meet 40 minutes. They struggle to meet 50 minutes. We cram a lot into our 2 hours.
None of the podcasts, if you have a look around, a lot of people just do 20-minute shows.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we try and offer something different. And if you look at radio show broadcast lengths, they are often 2 hours. But if I reflect my situation and what I think the audience is as well, is we've got to have our tea, put the kids to bed, get sorted, settle down before we can start. We hope that you can do the same.
Yeah.
So that when you sit down with the show, you're uninterrupted.
And we have to get stuff sorted out that has been announced on the Monday, because there's always stuff announced on a Monday. And I need at least an hour to get the graphics done so that we are the most current and up-to-date show that there possibly is. Because if something is dropped on the Monday,
you've spent 7 hours earlier in the week doing the other graphics.
Yeah, but you know, if we don't talk about stuff that's happened on the Monday, you guarantee somebody in the comments is going to be pulling us up on it.
Yeah. And that's the nature of it.
Yeah, you guarantee it, because with a radio show, it's just you and that other person in the booth. You don't get to hear what the outside noise is thinking. Because of the show that we see it there in the comments.
Yeah.
If we do something wrong, or if something's not quite right, or if things are not said correctly, you bet your bottom dollar we're going to get pulled up on it. But that's the beauty of the show.
That's the thing, that everyone is so invested that they know and they've got the knowledge there, and that's what makes it so good to be a part of local football.
Yeah, 100%. And we're not going to have the answers all the time, but that's why we interact with you in the comment section. That's why we ask you to get involved in the show, because we need you as much as you need us. It's a collective thing. It's a group thing. And without your comments and without you guys getting involved, the show is not the same. Not. It would never be the same. So for those eagle-eyed viewers amongst you, you may notice things have been slightly different from the last bit that we were just talking about. In the most 2020 thing possible, we had a power cut halfway through recording, so we've had to start a brand new brand new studio, in inverted commas, And
I've got one of the most fancy lights that you can imagine, controlled by my phone on settings,
right,
all wiped in the power cut.
yeah, yeah.
So I might be a different color to the other bit of the video.
Thank God that didn't happen during the live stream, because that would have been absolutely horrific. Thank God it's now rather
Yeah,
than. So that's the one saving grace. So we were talking about the early weeks of the show. We very quickly move on to where we're at now and the changes that have happened since the very beginning. The artwork looks completely different thanks to thanks to the guys over at Matchday Marketing for sorting that out.
yeah,
We now have sponsors on board, which have just helped propel the channel, which have now meant new mics, as you mentioned, new lighting. We're now looking to invest in other parts, which we'll be able to announce, which will improve the show no end. And that's the thing. I mentioned it earlier on. It's not about, we don't want to stand still and think that we've cracked it, because we haven't. We've still got a long way to go, and we still need to make those improvements. And that's important to us. But the work that goes on behind the scenes, I think, it can be overlooked because it's for the audience. It's not an important part. They want to see the end product.
yeah.
But we spend a lot of time doing this, don't we? This has pretty much taken over our lives.
But I think to that end, making it look as good as physically possible is our next goal.
Yeah.
And we've just about, I think we've saved the money now to do it. And I think we're just about there. We're now picking the right products to do it. So you'll see the cameras at the moment will be absolutely level with you. We're just using whatever's built into our laptops.
Yep.
Like, we don't have any actual streaming setup for cameras. So that's going to be invested in. We're hoping to get matching backgrounds, which will allow us to do a few other things around getting people's names sat behind us and stuff like that, which is good for marketing. And then going that one step further, like, let's just make sure that we both look consistently the same and you get the product that you deserve that looks professional. Like, at the moment, we're both aware that we're covered in shadows, and we're trying to do our best to light the background that we can, but a couple of little touches and we think that it'll be absolutely pucker, and we've got the finances in place to do that. And that was always the end goal. We've just had to save and work very hard to get to that point, and it's all backed up by the branding that's been created by Matchday Marketing, because that has led to us to be able to do many more things, which your shirts have also sort of lent a hand in. The next bit that's coming up on that, which thanks to the branding again, and it's going to mean that we're more visible. Hopefully the show is more visible.
Which is really important, because again, we don't want to just sit on our laurels and just think that everything's good and everything's rosy, because we can do a lot more, and we will be doing a lot more. And I've made no secret in the fact that I want to be able to go part-time at work. That would be the ultimate drive and ambition with that. But the only way we're going to be able to do that is by having continued sponsors coming on board, is by Patreon members coming on board, because as much as the one-off donations on Ko-fi are amazing, and they are, because they've been, they have enabled us to buy the mics and the lighting and the program, and the program that is not free. We pay money for this program to be able to stream to you every week, where we've just made the upgrade. You may well have seen the tweet that went out earlier on a couple of weeks ago now, as we're on Christmas Day here. All of those kind of stuff have been possible, but realistically, Patreon members are that guaranteed monthly source of income.
And so I think the thing is, like, people will ask, what does that mean when we can get to that bit? Well, when it gets to the bit where we've got one of us working on it all the time, it means we can put more content out. It means two shows a week become a possibility. Because that's what people have asked us, but it's not at the moment.
People have asked us on a regular basis, can we get a Thursday show? Can we get a Friday show? Are we going to be in a position where I'll get to somebody's question later on where they talk about expanding the channel for more content. And realistically, with both of us working our jobs that we do, getting kids sorted, striking that work life and this balance, we can't do more than what we're doing at the moment, because I'd say we're probably spending at least an average of 1 or 2 hours a night on this show. Realistically, we probably are, aren't we? That's on average. We will have our evenings where we are there for 3 or 4 hours, but we do spend a lot of time doing this, don't we?
Yeah, 100%. And I think, like, when the thing not to misconstrue is when you say you want to go part-time, it's not so you can take money out of it and have a day with your feet up. It's a day that then gets invested into the channel, and this becomes work as such. So like, that's the bit to get across. So rather than a day going part-time, it's actually a day dedicated to then making this more of a thing and putting into non-league. And whilst non-league is dedicated to volunteers and everything else, I suppose that there's that thing that can be asked of it. This is way too big a project. At this point, like, it's getting to the point where we're having to start making trade-offs with time to do as much as possible. I've like the Super Six is one of the best things we've done on this channel. I make no bones about it. But it's 4 hours when I sit down and sort the results out, and that's without creating it. So it's a big thing. It's a big project. It's an exciting project, and it's fun, and people want to be involved. But we're acutely aware that there will become a time when, to grow and do the next step, one of us is going to have to do at least one solid day of 8 hours of work, and financially it works out best that it's you as such.
Yeah, it does. And the only way that we're going to be able to do that is by, again, having continued sponsors, but by having a solid enough income where I can then turn around and say, right, I want to drop a day of work, but I know I've got enough money coming in to not lose out. And then I can then have those hours that, as you quite rightly say, then dedicated towards a show. I can then produce more content. We can then spend hours aside making sure that everything looks the way that we want it to look and produces the quality of the content that we want to do. And that's the crucial thing. It's not producing more stuff for the sake of producing more stuff. It has to be at a certain standard that we are comfortable with. And if it's not, it ain't going out. It not
doesn't fly at all.
Yeah.
No.
So
no, we're quite strict on that.
So Patreon members go a massive, a long way to that. And the guys who have signed up to Patreon are unbelievable. And it just needs a few more people doing it for potentially that to become a reality. But I know at the moment a lot of people are struggling, and it's not something that we talk about it, but we don't actively push, and it's not something every single day I'm talking about on social media, because I don't want it to come across like that. But if people want more, that kind of thing is going to have to grow. But it already has. It's gone, from where it was 6 months ago to now is incredible. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I'd be really clear about in terms of where we are with it, is that you see sponsors across the top banner. Genuinely, without those involved at this point, this wouldn't be where it is. Without the people giving the money to Ko-fi, we wouldn't be able to upgrade it. So we've got the high definition pack that we've just got.
Yeah.
As such, because we know that those bits of money are coming in. The really exciting bit about all that we haven't really made a big deal about is that we've actually been recognized by StreamYard themselves as a partner.
Yeah, that's incredible.
To be able to do this, and that's huge. It's really significant.
So now is part of the show where we are going to be answering your questions from Twitter. Now, we put this post out literally probably about an hour or so before we're due to go out live. So we've got a good array of questions in, and I can't wait to kind of go through them. So let's begin by answering James Scott's question. So his question is, what are your goals for the show in 2021? I'll let you answer that, and then I'll answer. We'll take it in turns to answer these questions.
So my next goal that is on our list is 200 simultaneous live viewers.
Yeah.
It was 100, and we've smashed through that recently, and now it's a norm, which is great.
Yeah.
That's where we want to be. So my next goal is 200. But what I'd like to see is a consistent sort of 1,000 views plus in a week on YouTube. I think that's the core of where I'm at, because I know it's achievable.
Yeah.
I don't want to set massive stretch goals, because at the moment we've got a really good core audience, and I'm unsure how far we can grow it. It's all going to be down to us and what we do to market it more and to keep pushing it out there. I think there's a lot for us to do with Instagram to get our name out there. I think there's more for us to do on Facebook with the non-league audience. I think we need to understand that platform more.
Yeah.
And we also need to deal with a transition where Twitter have recently announced that Periscope functionality is being removed.
Yeah.
And we may not be able to stream these videos directly to Twitter from the start of April. We've got the right software in place now so that we can use workarounds with some coding, but I know it will be me that needs to do the coding on it. I understand what needs to happen.
Ain't gonna be me.
No, quite openly, this is James's account, and some of that's going to rely on the ability for me to sit down with James, and when we're allowed to do that, even if it means I'm sitting in his garden as such or whatever, we're going to have to use workarounds to grow the channel. But for me, 2021 is about channel growth and how we get there.
Yeah.
How about you,
definitely.
James?
I don't know whether or not saying 2,000 subscribers by the end of 2021 would be a stretch. Because we're nearly at the 1,500 point. I think we've reached the 1,500 point this week. I'm not entirely sure. The numbers keep going up and down throughout the week, so I can't verify at the moment. But if the move from Twitter that is going to be happening does happen, a lot of my audience, if they want to get that kind of content, are going to have to come over to YouTube. So I always say to people, if you are interested, make sure you subscribe. And there's not it can be a throwaway line for a lot of people, but if you subscribe to the channel and you turn the bell notification on, the moment a video goes live, you get an email notification. So you are told that a video goes live. So you're not waiting around for me to post something on Twitter that the match day experience is live, or an interview's come out after the game, or a ground hopping video is here, or the live show is ready. You are told about it. So that's why I say to people, subscribe. It's free to do. All you need is a Gmail account, log into YouTube and subscribe. It's as simple as that. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps the channel grow. So 2,000 subscribers for me, I would say, is an achievable goal. But I want to see this progress enough that I can drop a day. That's my goal. Because I'm not stupid enough to to think that I can live off what I am and have this as a full-time income. It won't happen. So to be in a part-time position would be incredible. So those are my two aims, and they're big ones, but those would be my two aims of 2021. Because
I think part of it's about recognizing that to get the channel to grow and to get non-league content out to more people, it probably needs more time invested in it. And the only way that we can do that is by earning our right to be able to have the dedication to it as such. And that may be a long road ahead. And if it doesn't happen this year, it doesn't happen. But we've just got to keep putting our all into making sure every show is as good as it possibly can be, I think. And for me, I think what we've proven so far is that anything that we take in, we're investing out wisely and still thinking about the community as well, to ensure that we balance things.
Yeah, and a lot more is going to be coming out from the show in the next few months, especially. We've already got things kind of lined up where we're going to be investing back into non-league. So it's a full commitment, and it goes around in a circle. You guys put into us, we'll put out to you. and let's try and build something from it. So we have got avenues that we are wanting to go down, and we will be announcing things over the next couple of months. But it's all really good stuff. It's all really exciting. We can't wait to get more into the community. It's all well and good us turning up with a camera every so often and recording a game, but to actually put your money where your mouth is, I think that speaks volumes. Do you know what I mean? Actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
Talking about non-league football is not enough. Going to non-league football is the next step. Going to non-league is not enough. Investing in non-league is the next step. People who do that but no action, get in the bin.
It's not going to help.
No, exactly.
Agreed.
So those are the aims. Good question from James, and his follow-up to that is, when are we getting Matt Blake on? You must have asked him. When is he coming back on? Well, I think
I don't want to talk about the conversation we had the other night.
No,
at all.
No,
but something will happen in the new year that I might or might not talk about. Getting him back on the show, we talk to him every week.
Yep.
He'll come back on, but I'm not prepared.
It has to be right.
Yeah, I'm not prepared just to get him back on just for the numbers, because I've seen what we've achieved with getting other people on, and to start with, we didn't really want to get guests on here. We want it just to be me and James. And I think the more that's gone on, the more we realise there's stories to tell that are far interesting than the ones that we can find.
Yeah.
And those stories belong to the people that will want to come and talk to us. So he'll come back on, but not yet. I'm thinking end of season, start of next season, probably.
Yeah.
Is when it will be. We've got other really exciting guests lined up already. To give you an idea, every guest we have to work on normally takes around a month for some of the bigger ones to sort out. I just secured, don't mind saying it at all, but Galston to come on, and we're going to do something different on that one. So hopefully we'll get a couple of people on at the same time to have a more rounded chat about Galston. I know they're not in Suffolk, but they're part of the Furlough None League, which covers Suffolk.
Yeah,
and they're a club that are going through a really, really interesting transition with the players that they're getting in, but also their ground is going to go.
Yeah,
and it's being replaced. And I want to talk about that. But I want the experience of a manager coming in that can tell us what they think of the Furlough None. Sure. But let's have some honest opinions from another manager that can talk to us. And I think there's more people out there to give some good stories.
Yeah.
And it's clear that listeners want to invest their time in hearing those stories.
Good.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. So, Follow the Trawler asks, who would be your ideal guest in 2021, and what would be your burning question for them? Oh, who would be my ideal guest?
I'd like the head of the Furlough None League on, and I'd like to ask, why on earth did you give clubs an option as to whether they want to play or not?
So
no doubt about it. They've caused chaos.
To back that up, I would love to have somebody from the SIL committee come on.
Yeah,
as well, because I'm trying to put the best way across this. Their communication with us over the years, and we've tried setting up meetings with various people at the SIL, haven't we? I don't know if you remember, we were due to sit down with somebody. Actually, we were due to meet with somebody in Ipswich about talking about the bigger picture, and it never happened. Never happened. And the communication is next to nothing. There's only times you can. There's only so many times you can extend an olive branch.
But we've proven we can make those bridges by speaking to the FA. I cannot. Some people will look at it and think that was just a guest. That is an incredible milestone in terms of.
That was a big step for the channel. Big step.
Like to make that link with the local FA. A lot of people won't even dare go there because of the risks associated with doing it, and it's quite easy to cause problems within the community. But I felt like we did it right. And
I agree with that.
Going into it, I knew that I'd either want him on again or never speak to the bloke again.
Yeah,
because of what happened. And do you know what? I'd have him on. He's someone that I would have on once a month to update people.
Yeah.
And I'd love to build that bridge with the community. I don't know if it would work for them. I don't know if people would want, oh, this week is. I don't know if it would get boring. I don't know if people would get bored of it. But
again, kind of moving forward, if people want more of that type of content, that could be something where we sit down and do a pre-recording. Exactly. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? But again, we would need more hours in the day in order to make that kind of stuff happen. So
yeah, I think that it's right that we level with people as well. That Matt Blake interview, the reason it took so long is we were toing and froing about a live show or a pre-recording, and it was physically impossible for us to do a pre-record. We don't have the time.
Nope.
At the moment, not with everything else we're doing, planning around this, and with the rate of change. And it will settle down a bit, I think, in the new year once we've got these final few things in place.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of like trading off and sorting things out to do. When we can get all of that done, we might say we've got a spare evening to do a 20-minute pre-record or something with people. But
maybe.
Yeah, we just need to look into it, and we need to see where we're going with it.
Definitely. But really appreciate that question. So we've got Alex Muckle. Obviously, we know Alex quite well. Did you ever think the channel would take off like it has? And what has been your best moment? In terms of the first part of the question, did I ever think the channel would take off? For me, and having been in the YouTube world for as long as I have, listening, watching, and the amount of years that I've been uploading videos, I don't consider the channel to have taken off, but I can see why the audience that we have feels like it's taken off, because I'm used to dealing with audiences and channels of a far bigger number than what we have. However, when you look at it in context, the channel has done really well. It's done really, really well. We're outperforming YouTube accounts that talk about professional football.
Yeah.
So, it has done remarkably well. So I suppose going into
this, work on though, isn't there? There are things to work on there. Our conversion of people that watch the show to people that subscribe to the channel is terrible.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, loads more people watch this than actually subscribe.
Yep.
And that's week after week after week. So our numbers could look far better than what they do if we work on it. It gives us things to work on. I think before this show came out, I think I was quite open with you about it one day. I thought the channel had hit its headspace. I thought it hit the upper ceiling of what it could achieve.
Yep.
And I was probably partly guilty for sort of trying to guide you to reinvent things a little bit. But this has kind of pushed the boundaries on that.
Yep.
And made me realize how many people are involved at grassroots football and how many people are so passionate about it.
Yeah, definitely.
So 50-50 on an answer for that one, I think, Alex, for me.
And what has been your best moment? Should we go with the show or should we go with this year? Because my standout moment, and you're probably going to laugh at this, was the Paul Hayes interview.
I knew you loved that.
Yeah. It was. If you haven't listened to it, it's a long episode, but it was bloody incredible. He ripped into managers. What Matt Blake did, he tore into people as well. Do you know what I mean? That was a superb interview. And one that I'm extremely proud of. That for me was I remember jumping straight back onto Skype with you after I'd done it, and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. So that's probably one of my standout moments, and probably where we're sitting today recording this is another highlight, because to be in a position where this is possible is incredible. And it only coming on and talking about it and reflecting, do you realize how far you've come? So for me, I'd say this is another standout moment. But
it's a bit of an
I
odd
think
one.
I probably get yours.
This episode is as much a journal entry for us as it is something that people can pop by and have a look at if they want.
Yeah.
From time to time, it's important to look back and reflect on it, and for us to watch it again in a year's time.
Yeah.
I'd be absolutely crystal clear on that. I mean, it's probably not going to be the most entertaining show front to back for people, but as a journal entry, we're documenting the journey that we're on, and I think
for
that's
the
important.
channel.
And I think to those same means, like the biggest moment of the year for me was calling it a day at Stowmarket.
Wow. Okay, I didn't think you'd say that. Okay, that's interesting.
I had an incredible setup there, a good team of people around me, and my home team as such that I was so passionate about. And it took weeks of deliberation for me to make a decision that I was going to join this.
Yeah.
And make that choice. And it was really,
Yeah.
really hard. And in the initial weeks of doing this, I still wanted to do that.
Yeah.
I still wanted to have my own little thing and stuff. And I look back on it, and for me personally, that was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Because this is meant that I can, the creative control is still there for me just to run and for us to own it completely ourselves. And everything that Stowe did for me, I appreciate so much and respect so much. But I think it was a real fork in the road with the changes that needed to be made at the club with the way they wanted to document the footage and stuff this year.
Yeah.
And me sort of saying that I didn't think it was right for me anymore.
Yeah.
And by stepping away, I think it was a big personal decision, and it's led me on the path to this. That was the moment when this really was formalized.
Yeah.
And this was going to be a thing. So it was the biggest moment of my year, and it was the biggest decision I've had to make all year. I'm not talking about the biggest success story. I'm talking about my personal biggest moment and the hardest thing I had to do.
It was a gamble for you, wasn't it? Because you were leaving something that, although maybe certain things had changed at Stowe that you weren't entirely happy with, it was still something where you could have been in a position to still have that on your CV.
Exactly.
And still say that you were part of it and you were doing something, and whatever the case may be. This hadn't gone to the levels it was now. It was only at its starting point, and we had an idea, but it was nowhere near ready. It was nowhere near at a point where we could go, right, you're actually making a sound decision here. This was a big gamble. So it could have massively backfired, and we could be, well, we probably wouldn't be recording this episode. So for you, that was a big step.
Yeah, 100%. And like you say, the stuff I was doing there was kind of CV worthy. I was working within, a sort of social media team, and there were sort of clear aims put out as to what I should produce and how I should do it. And I was getting to, this season would have been the season I got to work with the brand new VO technology, which is really, really exciting. It's really exciting technology. But as somebody that was getting to grips and understanding and enjoying using cameras and stuff, and some might just absolutely rip it out of me now because I don't even use them now. I'm not out filming. I'm doing things in a different way, but I was enjoying that side of it, and I couldn't. I suppose in my mind, I couldn't entirely give it up. I was finding it difficult to lose that element of control. And equally, I wasn't sure if I could get to every game anymore. And I kind of felt like I had to be there, but I was swapping a huge operation for basically pressing a button to record, and it felt so alien to me. And they're still getting content out, and things are working fine, like in terms of what they're doing there. But I think that after the initial gamble, and when we got all our cards in order, this is put. There's even more things from this that I'd be prepared to put on my CV because we're running the whole operation.
Yeah, we are. So really good question, Alex. Appreciate you sending that one in. So next question comes in from Sidekick Sports UK. Who is your standout class act, most exciting, one to watch, best player of the year? And you could pick only one. Also go for the most exciting management and the team that's going places very quickly on and off the field. So let's start off with best player, one to watch, most exciting from what you've seen. Who are you going to say?
Tiger Smalls for me. I think he's got everything there.
He didn't even flinch.
No, I think that from what happened with him at the end of last season, the opportunities that he had.
Yeah.
I think he's got plenty in the tank.
Okay. I'm going to go with George Quantrell, who is now back at Stowmarket.
Yeah.
He's a talent, and I don't care what anyone says. He's unbelievable. And his journey and where he's going to go, I find really interesting. And the back and forth that he's had at Stowe, I just want to see him knuckle down, get some games under his belt, and really see where he can go. Because I think if he has the right coaching in place, I think he can quite easily take his game onto a very, very high level, and he could really, really go places. He's an unbelievable player. So for me, I'm going to say George. Management wise, I'll let you answer first, just in case if you pick my answer.
Yeah, for me, it's Muzzy's team at Stowe.
Right, okay, yeah.
Not wanting to be really predictable, I'm excited to see what he now brings to the table and how he fills the huge boots that he's got to fill from Rick leaving. Rick left a legacy.
Yeah, no doubt.
So it's how Muzzy can now pick that up and take it on to the next level, which Stowe need to achieve.
Yeah.
But Mike, you've got to say it's not just the foundations that are laid at Stowe. A lot of the brickwork's been done as well.
Yeah, definitely. For me, I'm going to go with Kevin Horlock at Needham. I think the way he's transformed that team into what is there now is a solid top of the table team that are really wanting to push on to the next level.
You can see him getting promoted, aren't you?
Oh, God, yeah. I think what that team could achieve, and with everything that's set up at the club now, especially with the 3G going on right next to it, there's a potential there. There really is a potential there for things to go quite well. So for me, that's who I'm most looking forward to seeing, whether or not they can continue it. And depending on what happens with this season, we still don't know. But I think for me, that's the most exciting thing.
Oh my God, I've just remembered. I'm going to chuck it in anyway. I know we're mid-record, but Ben Folkes. How can we talk about one of the most exciting players in non-league and forget about Ben Folkes?
Yeah. Good shout.
He has potential to go on.
Okay, there's the show's answer. We've had our personal ones, and there's the show's answer. And team that's going places. Who are you most looking forward to seeing over the next year, 2 years?
I think playing the long game is Ipswich Wanderers. I want to see if they can fulfil their aims. And I was told that step 4 is where they'd love to be longer term. And wouldn't that be good?
Yeah. For me, I'm going to say Halesworth in the SIL because I know that their ambitions are to get out of the SIL.
Yeah.
And become part of the furlough setup. So for me, that's the exciting team. They've taken this league by storm already. They're doing incredibly well at senior level. I saw them when they were down in Div 1 and they were brilliant, and they've continued that this season. And I just want to see how far they can take it because the ambitions are there, the facilities are there. It's an exciting team to kind of keep an eye on. Really, really is.
I love the fact about them is that the facilities are in place and it's the preparation to go up a level. Yeah, it's not a case of winning the senior and then saying, "Well, that's it. We'll go again next year."
Yeah.
Football is inherently about progression and promotion and stuff, and it's the one thing I struggle with between those levels because the facilities are not there, and to some extent, the guidance on what's required from the FA, it's too expensive for clubs to meet it, and that holds back the system of the pyramid sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really good question on that one. He does follow up by saying, how do you think the lockdown has helped the progress of the show, and how do you think it's hindered the show, if at all? In terms of the progress of the show, the first lockdown happening didn't really have an impact on this because this wasn't around during the first lockdown. This was
we didn't
kind
get
of
out of the trap fast enough, maybe, with planning it in the first lockdown.
Yeah, I would agree with that. In terms of hindrance, I think maybe we've learned over the second lockdown that of what we need to do in order to prepare for a show, because the standard run-of-the-mill Tuesday, Saturday results, they pretty much take care of the show already. We just need to fill in the few bits at the beginning. But it's when lockdown happens, and it probably will happen again after Christmas, is what we need to do in order to get prepared for episodes, because we don't want to miss out just because it's not, and there's not actual football on the pitch to talk about. We still want to be here talking about non-league football, and that for us is really important, because
that's
it's quite easy.
Episode taught us, I think.
Yeah,
it's that we had a week where we did 40 minutes of news and views and what was going on, then bang, big interview, massive numbers.
Yep.
The biggest numbers we have ever got had no football either side of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
And that proves absolutely everything in terms of what we want to achieve.
Yeah, definitely. And as I said, just because there's not any football on doesn't mean you stop talking about it, because there's still plenty of things to share. So
inherent to our lives.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So really good questions on there. Cheers, mate. So Dean Cooper asks, would you be interested in another cameraman to capture more games in the week and weekends? The more cameramen, the more footage? ? If I can be brutally honest, no. No.
Yeah, I think.
And the reason why. Sorry?
We spoke about this the other night, didn't we? There is only one way that we could physically do it. And that would be have a multitude of people that film games to the same quality as what they're filmed at the moment.
Yeah.
And all of the footage goes off to an editor who, through the week, produces a set of highlights for each game, which is done to the exact template and looks the same. Because it's not about how you film a game, it's about how you edit it and make it look the same so it stays on brand.
100%.
And that is impossible to copy from one person to another.
Yeah.
And already, I think we can put our hands up and say we're acutely aware that the match day experience bit needs bringing up to date with the rest of it.
Yeah.
In terms of branding, in terms of introductions, in terms of like just chucking maps in to show where we're traveling to.
Yeah.
Like, ways of working things out. We're aware that those things need doing. Now, if you ask 10 different people to all do those things that we know need to be added in, you'd have 10 videos that looked polar opposites to each other.
Yeah.
And we can't let that happen.
Yeah. And I don't want it to happen because, again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier on. We have a certain image and a certain thing that we want to put out. And if it's not up to the standards that we set, it ain't going out. So I've had people approaching, asking to do various different bits and pieces throughout my time on YouTube. No, because if it's not up to what I want, I'm not doing it. And it's one of those, if you want to put highlights out for yourself, then go for it, because the more people promoting and talk about non-league football in a good way, I'm all on board with that. We've recently seen Tattenstone have launched their new YouTube channel, and I love it. Absolutely bloody love it. That is fantastic, and it's what we want to see. That's another step. It's another step in the right direction.
Yeah.
But if you want to do that, then crack on. But for me, as I said, we just have certain levels of standards that if it doesn't meet that, then I'm not on board with it. So I agree. Sending it off to somebody to edit is the way to go about doing that. But then we're not going to be able to guarantee that the highlights are going to be out the next day, because
that's it. That's the future of it. It's knowing that, yeah, we can get 5 games out a week, right? Knowing that that's exactly what we can do, right? And having an editor to do it. But it's then setting the expectation that it's 1 game a day, and it's almost like the first game is a premiere and they get less important as the week goes on. And it's building an audience that's big enough and reliable enough to want the 5th video as much as they want the first.
Yeah.
We are not that strong as a channel yet.
No.
And I have the self-recognition and the self-knowledge of knowing that's the issue.
Yeah.
If we got to that point, how much would we have to earn to pay for an editor? We'd have that discussion when it got there.
Yeah.
If we were big enough to do it, we'd bring it. But big enough means earning the cash to do it.
Yeah. And again, I don't know whether or not people know the time that I spend on a Saturday evening making sure that everything is out by Sunday morning. And you've told me many times, why do you focus so much on getting it out on a Sunday morning? It's because I want you to have the highlights as quickly as possible so that it's still fresh in your mind and that you're still interested in it. So I then, at the moment I come home, I then get all the footage put onto here. I then sit down and edit it to the way that we do, and we get everything sorted. I get the graphics all done. I get the thumbnails all done. I upload the videos. I schedule in tweets. I am there till at least 1, 2 a.m. every single Saturday, sorting it all out and making sure that it looks that way. If I then got another game to then do on top of that, I can't do it. I simply can't do it. It's asking too much. But again, that then comes back down to then you just then chuck everything in an editor and let them do it. But then you've then got no control about when it's going to be done. And if something's then taken out of my control.
From the highlights part of it, the easiest way currently that I know of for us to get more out and more on the channel, and the quickest way at the moment, would be for clubs that have VO to give us access to their VO stuff and for us to chop those goals up and chuck them out, because I know the system identifies when goals happen.
Yeah.
So if more clubs will join and link with us and let us have access to their individual VO accounts to just grab video, there is a genuine opportunity for us to do that, because I've got experience of pulling video and putting it together in that way.
Yeah.
But
that's more time on your part.
Exactly. It's time, but we also need to make those partnerships with clubs. And that's also a task. But if it happens, it's another thing for us to look into. It's a never say never, but no, we're not going to just send people out on a mission with a camera, say film it, edit it, send us the final video, and we'll chuck it on the channel, because that's not how we work.
And again, it's the personality. It's the personality as well. Do you just want highlights, or do you want someone actually talking about the game? Because I mean, anybody could turn up and record highlights. It takes
this is the thing. Like, and if we move to VO, that's the thing. If we had access to clubs' VOs and we were watching things back, I'd still put it together, watch it, and then break out in a similar way to this and record our reactions to the events happening as they unfold. Because I wouldn't just stick a load of goals in a row on YouTube.
No, it's not.
Because it's not the same. That's not what we do.
It's not our style. It's not our style. But really appreciate the question, Dean. Thanks for sending it in, mate. So Follow the Trawler asks, which other podcast bloggers / accounts do you think are doing outstanding work at the moment? I suppose this is probably in relation to the type of work that we do in terms of non-league football. I suppose the account wise, you'd have to say Ollie Bayliss would be a massive source of inspiration. His
2020 winner, really.
Yeah, his dedication to non-league football is just outstanding. I'd love to get him on the show at some point. That would be good to get to sit down and chat with him. Podcasts and bloggers. It's a difficult one because I don't tend to watch other stuff that we do of a similar ilk. Do you know what I mean? Like other areas of the country or whatever. I tend to draw on my stuff that I learn from a YouTube perspective from a wide range of football, non-football, NFL. Do you know what I mean? I pick and choose what I watch personally. I draw inspiration from from quite a few areas. My big one is probably Phil DeFranco. Do you know Phil DeFranco?
No.
No. If you don't, I would imagine half the audience probably don't know. But Philip DeFranco, he's an American show host who basically has his own news channel. But he talks about Twitter gossip, celebrities, and YouTubers as well.
Yeah.
It's not like a drama alert. It's actual professional him talking to the camera, and it's just him and his personality shining through. So he's a big inspiration for what kind of stuff I do. But again, I don't know how many people would know who he is. Obviously, you don't. What about you?
No. I watch a broad array of YouTube.
Like, you do.
You know what my watch time is like on YouTube, and honestly,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is truly ridiculous. Like I'm pretty confident I don't know anyone that's got a higher YouTube watch time than I have. Like,
it's mental. Trust me, guys, it's mental.
So, like, I think in the last 18 months, I've spent 99 days watching YouTube solid. It calculated out the other day. And I would say that I watch a lot of streams from video gamers and stuff, and it's all, for me, it's like taking note of personalities that they can get away with and what they're portraying within that, and it's understanding how they interact with their audience. There's a channel I follow called True Nerd, and I don't expect people to watch it and stuff. It's got 500,000 subscribers, so it's quite big.
Right.
But understanding how they connect with their community and the questions they ask the community are quite important to me, and how they market it, what they do, kind of has formed a basis for understanding for me as to how to do similar things, and how to have even like the morals that some of these people have on how they take brand deals and stuff like that, and understanding why people choose different things. I think is really important when you're starting out, understanding how you should go and find sponsors, for example. And what you'll notice with all of our sponsors is they're all local companies. This is the Suffolk Non-League Show. These are Suffolk companies that follow us. It's all about sort of, and like I'm sure James won't mind me saying, but a lot of the stuff behind that I've kind of driven in terms of sort of saying like, this is what we need to go out and do. And it's all advice from people that have done things like that, because then I notice that when I watch a different channel and they'll just get some random brand deal, they'll just get hammered for it because it affects their reputation. With the community side of it, I was watching that channel the other night. They did a 7-hour live stream, and they raised £5,000 for children's cancer charity.
Cool.
In that community, and that was with a continuous audience of about 2,500 people watching through YouTube.
That's mad.
And that's an audience that's only 20 times bigger than what we have.
And
that's how much money they raise. And it inspires to the power of the community that you've got, and to use it in the right way. People can make content out of nothing on YouTube. I watch a guy that Passions from Norwich. He basically reviews stuff from Poundland. But it's about the way that you get involved with your audience and how you pull people in. And if you can be inspiring and excited about non-league football, so can the people that watch your content. And that's absolutely at the core of what I want to achieve with this. It's being excited about what it is. And that doesn't matter if it's a £1 toilet roll or the, Kop's new centre forward. I've just compared Kop's new centre forward to a £1 toilet roll. Oh, my days.
We've only just got them back. We've only just got Copplestonians back. Please don't do anything to hinder that.
No, like, no, it's meant like, but seriously, it's knowing how you can interact with people. And I've got a disdain for football. Most people that know me know that. Like, I can't be bothered with it. Right. And my passion lays within knowing how to interact with communities and stuff like that. I'll spend ages watching cooking programs, and it's just, again, it's knowing how you interact with an audience on a different basis. Loads of the channels I watch is just someone talking to a camera. It's something that I'm entirely not comfortable with, but it's what I do on YouTube.
So we've got Sean Turley who asked, what has been your favorite game to watch so far in 2020? Do you want to kick this off? Do you have one that instantly springs to mind?
The last home league game for Stowtown before the first lockdown.
Right.
Stowe came back from being 2-0 down with 10 men and won 4-2.
Right.
Against Long Melford was the most outrageous game I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
Like that was fight until the very end.
Yeah.
And in a season where they were going undefeated at 2-0 down and at 10 men, you thought it was over.
Yeah.
It was done.
Yeah.
You're filming it, resigned to the fact they're losing. It's quite difficult. And then you get a goal and another one, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Absolute scenes. And you could see what it meant to people.
Yeah.
A special day.
All right. I like that. In terms of recording, I would probably say the game we went to the other night, Bramford versus Clacton. It was just off the charts. It was berserk. Some really good goals, really high energy. Two teams that had a lot to prove and really went at it. Especially Clacton, they were very, very impressive. But it was just a brilliant game. The fans could, contribute to it massively. The referee contributed to it, not in a good way, but he did contribute to it. The players were fantastic. It was just a brilliant, brilliant game. But in terms of a personal perspective, I would have to say the weekend before lockdown, I don't know if you remember that weekend, there were a load of National League games and league games being cancelled. And then slowly it started trickling down that non-league was being cancelled slowly but surely. Me and my mates were going out on a bit of a drinking session. We wanted to make the most of it. So we were desperate for a game, and then Stowe got cancelled, Bury got cancelled, and we went, right, we're going down to SIL. So we went over to Hawley versus Henley. And obviously, when you've been drinking, you're not really concentrating too much on the game. So it could have been a brilliant game, but I think it was only 1-0 at half time. We decided, right, this game is not very good. Let's jump in a taxi and go to another game. So we left about 10 minutes into the second half to go and watch the final half an hour at Old Newton for their home game against Copplestonians. Saw 2 goals and thought it was the best decision we've ever done. Joined everyone in the bar at Old Newton, kept on drinking. Obviously, at this point, you're not really aware of the pandemic and what was going to be happening. So we were just using it as a good excuse to go out and get quite merry. But yeah, to get 2 games in on the final weekend before lockdown happened was really, really good. And I had a great day that day. So yeah, it's not really a favorite game as such because it combines 2. But that was a day. It was incredible.
Good.
I'm not sure how you feel about that.
Fine.
Those are the Twitter questions. Thank you very much for everyone who sent those in. I know it was very last minute. So, Stuart, I know your question was in there as well, but it was already answered earlier on. So, Stuart asked, when was the start of your journey? Did you imagine the show was going to be the success it is, and what do you want to do this time next year? So we already answered that question. So Stuart, I want to give you a shout out before we go any further. So Adam, I just want to ask you one final question to round this up.
Go on.
How do you reflect on 2020? Now that we're coming to the end of it.
Crap, wasn't it? Absolutely crap.
Do you see it that way?
Yeah,
because I don't.
Yeah, it was rubbish. Like there's been good stuff in there. I'm not gonna lie, there's been good stuff
Right.
in there. But like the thing is, right, you
Here
can't
we go.
say, oh well, on to 2021 because
It's going to be exactly the same.
it doesn't go away at midnight.
No.
Yeah, it's not like that thing where like you know you turn from an ugly sister to a prince at midnight or whatever it is in the fairy tales. Like it's still going to be here, but like
Yeah,
there's
I
been
was
some
having the
personal
exact same
triumphs.
conversation. I was having the exact same conversation with people in my office. They were like, "Oh, I can't wait for 2021." I was like, "Why?" That the first 6 months of 2021 are going to be exactly the same as what we're going through right now, if not possibly worse. So,
Yeah, like
I don't want to be negative about it, but I'm just
I
being realistic. It is going to be exactly the same.
I think that we're in this situation where we're just getting used to it now.
Yeah.
But like the whole thing of Christmas and that was an absolute kick in the balls, really, I suppose, wasn't it, for a lot of people?
Mm,
Um, but personally, things have gone badly at the start of the year, and then things have gone really well in terms of what we do here.
yeah.
Like, I've been lucky to have family by my side throughout it, and you know, as I always say, there's people far worse off than myself, and I think in a year of trouble, you can also look around and find the triumphs that people have had as well.
Yeah.
Um, there's been as many amazing stories as there have very sad ones.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Sport has played a big part in those and the coming together of football communities. Things like what Marcus Rashford has done
Yep.
for children and stuff like that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like something that's like fairly close to home in terms of like environmentally, like there's obviously a big need for us to sort our shit out really environmentally, and that's been helped
Yep.
as well with
Yeah.
everything that's happened. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't. They're things that, like, to me personally, mean quite a lot, and it's important that we do stuff about it. And it's proved that we can, and I hope that when this all starts to fizzle out, because it doesn't go away, it will fizzle out.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
we learn a lot from it, not just go back to our old ways.
Yeah. Okay. For me, I I'm not entirely happy with what is with certain aspects of my life. However, I think when you look at things overall, I think where I was at the beginning of the year to where I am now, I'm a completely different person.
Yeah,
So I look at who I am now, and I feel as if I'm a very good dad. I'm very, I, you know, my relationship with my son is incredible. Um, and I've realized this year to not to not stand for people's BS in my life. And that that involved making a decision which seemed quite difficult at the time to cut certain people out of my life, but I'm now at a point where I no longer need drama. I no longer need people judging and questioning my every decision. And I think when you get to that point where you don't want that in your life anymore, I think it's very important to stand up and say, no, I'm not taking that. That's not how I want my life to be. And it seemed very difficult at the time, but looking back on it now, I think I've made the right decision 100%. And I feel like I'm a better person for it, because the moment you take that negativity out of your life, your mental health improves dramatically. As I said, am I entirely happy? No, I think I'm getting there, because as with everybody, I've struggled with things in the past. However, I think this year for me has taught me a massive amount about where I want to be going in life. And it's been a big wake-up call. And I feel like I've connected with people better this year. I feel stronger in the relationships that I have and the ones that are actually important to me. And, you know, for me, this has been I wouldn't say, well, I probably would go to so far as to say that it has been a test this year to see who is actually important in my life. And certain people haven't met the criteria. And that's just the way it is. And I'm not going to apologize for it, because it just shows who you need in your life and who you don't. And I feel like I'm in a better place for it. You know, I'm not entirely comfortable with certain things about me at the moment in terms of my physical appearance has taken a dramatic hit this year. So there are things that I need to work on and things that from my own mental side of it, I need to do to get me into that position. But again, it comes down to time. It's what we've been talking about throughout this show. You know, you sacrifice one part of your life to benefit another. And I think everybody who's kind of got all of their shit in gear, my hat goes off to you. So,
I mean, what I'd say is, viewers, whilst James needs to work on getting himself his 6-pack, there's no danger of me doing weights or going for a run. So, whilst he may not be able to make a Monday night sesh because he's benching, I'll still be here.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Finally, I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who has ever watched a video on the channel. Whether or not you were here from the early stages of me doing Football Manager stuff to the early days of the match day experiences to somebody who's just come on board because of the Suffolk non-league show, whatever stage you've been at, you've contributed to where we are now, and you've made this year bearable. You've given myself and Adam a focus and a drive, and that has been unbelievably important this year. So I really want to say a massive thank you to everyone. And again, I know this is, you know, it is a flippant remark from a lot of YouTubers, but it truly, truly does mean the world. It really, really does. And we've got to know you guys really well this year. But as we've said time and time again, this is only the beginning. 100% this is only the beginning. We are going to get bigger and stronger. And this show is only at the start of growing. So we've got a lot planned. It will get better. And I can't wait for all of you guys to be on board with it and be part of the journey, because it's going to be very, very exciting. 2021 is going to be an improvement.
Bigger.
I like
Big
it.
2020, bigger 2021.
I like it. That's a good way to round off. Have a good Christmas, everyone.
Yeah, and have a good one.
Be safe. Be secure. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you are struggling, if you need any support, my DMs are open. Please contact me and I will see what I can do. And let's just keep looking out for each other. I think that's an important message to kind of round things up on. But until next time, thank you very much for tuning in. Adios.